I will call the meeting to order of the BUHS number 6 for April 4th, 2016. And moving on to the clerk's report, we have a couple of meetings worth of minutes to approve. Everybody received those? Received the minutes?
Yeah.
For March 7th and March 21st. And I'll accept any motions.
I move the minutes. You have to have them separately?
No, we can do them together.
I move the minutes of March 7th and March 21st.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bob. All right, any additions, deletions, corrections?
There was one thing that I think was missing on the March 7th, which is that I made a report for the Finance Committee where we approved a bunch of warrants, and I announced the next meeting, which was March 30th. So that was the only addition that I saw. That was for the SU Finance.
So we will add those to the official minutes. So anything else other than that addition from Russ for the March 7th minutes? All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes for March 7th and March 21st as amended?
I'm going to have to abstain from one of them because I missed the second meeting.
Okay.
The last meeting.
So we'll vote on them separately. How's that?
Okay.
So all in favor of approving the minutes of March 7th as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed or abstentions? No. All right. And then all those in favor of approving the minutes of March 21st as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Or
Abstain.
Okay. And Russ is abstaining? All right. Any other communications to come before the board tonight? Any other communication? Okay. So next we're up to recognition of groups or individual visitors. And we have a visitor. I'm going to turn it over to Dennis Hamilton from the WRCC and longtime forestry teacher. And it's all yours.
Thank you. I'm here because in December, I was informed that because of whatever reasons that my position was being cut to 8.3, and so as a result, I have this letter. It is with personal regret that I choose to retire in June of 2016. My hope and expectation is that by retiring, the complete forestry program, including the following classes and agricultural land management, forestry and natural resources, machinery operation and maintenance, and skills maintenance and repair technology would be maintained at the current level. My retirement should allow these programs to run within the current budget, eliminating the need to cut the program to 0.83 FTE. If I chose to stay at 0.83 FTE, one of the key feeder classes would no longer be offered to all students attending the Wyndham Regional Career Center. I don't feel that eliminating any of these classes is in the best interest of the forestry program or the students of the schools we serve. I'd be happy to advise, assist, and or mentor staff supporting WRCC students in any way I can. And while I have the floor, I just wanted to add my little, it's my chance to say something extra. So because more than ever, kids need to think and problem solve to survive in the world outside of school. In the past, many learned these skills at home and applied them at school. Now many students can't apply problem solving learned at school, at traditional school, to real life situations, I believe. This is why I believe we need to teach career and technical, real life based skills. I believe we in education tend to overlook this student need when costs rise or funds are cut. We always find the money for traditional education, preparing students for college and after college jobs that aren't always available or appropriate for every kid. Where we do teach kids how to manage financial affairs, credit, debit, interest, etc., raise a garden, growing your own food, care and service of engines at home, lawnmowers, snow blowers, leaf blowers, all that stuff, autos and autos of all types, care for our world and forest and opaline, construct houses and buildings. There's a shortage of high-paying trades workers, plumbers, electricians, heating and cooling techs, auto techs, agriculturalists, and all those that are growing food supply. I haven't got this written, but if you look at the statistics, everybody in those fields are worried about where the next generation of those kind of workers are coming from, because the average age in a lot of those fields is like 55 and older. So anyway, we need career ed to prepare hands-on active learners for these careers. Please don't overlook the needs of many kids for this style of education and preparing them for careers that traditional education sometimes, I said ignores, but I don't think it ignores it. That's my plug. I had to get in there. Thank you, and that's what I got to say.
And I want to say thank you for all your years of service to the school and to the kids. We know that that's been a real passion of yours, and we really appreciate that. And I know that later on we'll deal with the official retirement letter later on in our meeting. But thank you very much for your time and coming in to meet with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we can move on to consent agenda, and moving on first to finance, building, and transportation.
Okay. Finance met. Okay. March 24th.
Did we vote to go into consent?
I thought we didn't have to do that. I thought we could just go into consent agenda.
Well, usually we vote on.
Okay,
Remove them.
okay, can I have a motion to go into consent agenda? Let's back up for a second so we don't.
So moved.
All right, second.
Second.
All right, second by Bob. All right, all in favor? Aye. All right. Okay, so finance, building, and transportation.
Okay. We met, as I say. Yeah, on March 24th, looks like I got written down. And we approved warrants 1153, 1154, 1155, 1157, 1158, 1159, 1160, 1161, 1162, and 1163 in the amount of $398,418.95. We also approved the payrolls of March 4th in the amount of $425,887.25, and payrolls of March 18th in the amount of $444,274.54. And we also talked about the endowment fund balances and our investment policy, and that we've got to transition to a new management firm for the non-Eames fund monies, because the one that has been doing that
One at Sherlock
is
going to retire.
going to retire. Did we do anything else?
Well, we did have a meeting on the 30th
That's right, we had another meeting on the 30th.
to interview someone to manage the non-Eames portion of the fund. And it was Vermont Trust. Should we talk about this?
Trust Company of Vermont.
Yeah, and Vermont Trust Company begged off. They, I forgot they had various reasons why they didn't want to manage the fund. So we're back to square one, and we're going to interview I think People's Wealth Management Group and possibly a group in Connecticut. Is that correct? I think that's
Yes,
it.
I think the other one's in Connecticut.
And our next meeting is a week from this coming Wednesday, I believe it's the 13th of April at 8
April
a.m.
13th. And
in the James Kane.
yeah, it is noted on today's warning of Thursday, April 7th, but I just wanted
It's
to-
not happening.
It's not happening.
but that's
Okay.
not happening.
Okay, so the 13th,
The 13th,
same time, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
yes.
Is that it?
I can't get them to meet any earlier.
That's good. All right.
I believe that's it.
Make some donuts, ooh.
Okay, WSCSU Finance Committee?
Yeah, we met on the 30th, reorganized. I was re-elected as chair of the Finance Committee. We went over with Frank the year-to-date, and we're on track, I think, for being at or below the budget. We took a quick look at the audit. I've got a copy here, and it was a clean audit, no exceptions, no footnotes. So that was really good. Was there something else we did? No, those were the main things. And then our next meeting is going to be on the 27th. And it's going to, at 5 o'clock, and I think it's going to be here. It's going to be wherever the Act 46 meeting is, is that going to be here?
If this room's available, it'd be good.
But anyway, because there are members of the Finance Committee that are on the Act 46 committee, so we'll follow, so that'll be earlier, I take it? Or is it after? When's the?
Act 46 is at 6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock, okay, so we'll meet at 5 wherever you guys meet. And we'll go over warrants and things, but also we'll be talking about a new hire in the central office, because with the consolidation, not the Act 46 consolidation, but the other consolidation that's gone on so far, and some past audit requirements of having somebody that sort of specializes and monitors auditable types of things throughout the year. We'll be talking about that new hire that was in the budget. So that's whenever that is. I said the 27th.
What kind of consolidation are you talking about?
All of the special ed came in a year ago. And then also one of the towns, is it Guilford? That is Vernon. Vernon is had their own, ran their own payrolls and those sorts of things, and that's coming into the central office. So it's pretty overwhelming, and that staff has been remarkable in terms of all the new proposals and going through the energy types of things that they've gone through without any addition. Jim Kane was consulted and helped along with that, and but they've been doing a remarkable job, and it's just growing. So we'll be talking about that on the 27th.
Okay, great. All right, planning and policy.
It's not that.
All right, teacher curriculum committee.
Also, it's not that.
And the BAMS committee has not yet met. We're waiting for all of our members to get back in the country to do that. And then we will set up a reorganization meeting once they're all returned from overseas. WRCC.
That's not bad.
All right. Next one is the WSCSU Act 46 Study Committee. And Ron has materials for everyone.
So you may have seen the latest study report. I printed it off so you have it. I thought we could take a few minutes to highlight some of the most recent changes.
Give this one to Russ, because I already have, I ran one.
Okay, great.
So before we kind of go into some of the specifics related to this, how many of you have seen the draft of the report up to this point? Just, I know Ian has and I have, because we're on the committee. So, and a lot of meetings are happening in individual towns, at individual schools to inform the public and get people's ideas and thoughts and opinions, and let them know where the study committee's been at. And the study committee's been meeting almost weekly. We're meeting again tomorrow evening. But this is sort of the working draft of the report that would go to the State Board of Education, and if approved, would be our working document to go forward. And as you look through this, if anybody's seen any parts of this before, the things that are in bold are the newest additions or edits to it. I don't know, do you want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ron's going to speak through some of these as we go, and we can ask questions as we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, first page just gives you a sense of who's on the committee. The fact that all the boards are getting this April, starting April 4th. This is the March 31st, the most recent edition. If you look at the inside, page 2, this is the executive summary of the study committee. And, you know, when you have a chance, I hope you get a chance to read this, but one thing that was mentioned that people wanted us to highlight is that third paragraph where it says, currently several schools in the WSESU do not offer comprehensive extended day or summer programming. Opportunities will open to expand after school and summer programs that could include academic, art, music, drama, physical activities. Title I programming will be available to more students. Then it continues, we will have the ability to expand foreign language offerings, technology integration, enrichment opportunities through hiring and sharing highly qualified teachers. When discussing potential opportunities with building principals, the top priorities were tech integration and enrichment. We can envision the impact this will have for all of our students, creating rigorous educational opportunities for students in all schools. I'm gonna take a break from this report and talk a little bit about this legal sheet. And just briefly show you some examples of, on number 2 and 3, on the first page of this document, it has after-school programming. Schools like Guilford and Vernon don't have much. And so looking at school-based tutoring, enrichment, meals, increased academic proficiency, whole student development, student family child care. So expand current program, Brattleboro Town, to include, which runs 3 days a week, into Dummerston, Guilford, Putney, Vernon. We currently have 3 teachers, 2 paras, extended day. Increase access to Brattleboro programs for non-academic activities, New England Youth Theater, strings program, exercise, language. Utilize existing bus transportation to Brattleboro, elementary shuttle to academy, before high school students are picked up. So, you know, we'd have to work out a schedule of transportation, but, you know, there's a possibility of expanding slots without very much cost associated with something like that. Number 3, elementary summer programming, 40 summer school expansion addressing learning loss, improve proficiency, expand current program, again, primarily at Brattleboro Town Academy School, 65 students, 13 teachers, 4 paras, 4 weeks, 4-day weeks, no personnel increase, additional transportation, expenses open to 40 additional students from other towns. So we run the program up anyway, so this would be a chance to expand that. BAMS was an example of summer school number 4. 30 summer school expansion, address learning loss again, expand current programs, 50 students, 5 teachers, 2 paras, no personnel increase, additional transportation, open to 40 additional students from other towns. So it may be that Dummerston and Putney that have a middle school but don't run a middle school summer program could access that program. So as you look at this, these are just examples of how you could do this in a low-cost way. And I think on the second page, at the bottom, I think it's important to notice the difference. You know, a lot of people say, well, why can't you do this now through cooperation in the SU? And I always think about, I think we do have a well-functioning supervisory union, but it's all based on per pupil expenses. And so if you look at the examples at the bottom of the page, foreign language expansion, you know, Brattleboro town, some schools have foreign language during the day for the elementary students. But a single district that has been trying to fund expansion to foreign language, it might take a half-time teacher, which would be roughly $35,000. You have to divide that $35,000 by the number of students at the school, 120 students. So that's the $291 per student increase. That increase there would cause that school budget to go way over the cap, that the allowable growth rate that we're all facing. And as a result, they can't afford $35,000. They can't afford $20,000 in some cases for program development. So the example under that is in a unified district, you'd have 2 full-time teachers, you know, half-time in Dummerston, half-time in Putney, half in Vernon, half in Guilford. At $140,000, you divide that by the 25,000 students in our district, and it's a $56 increase per student. And that's doable. So those are just examples. This next one is an example of capital expenses. Brattleboro town, let's say doing a project that would be debt service of $60,000 a year. You divide that by 876 students, $68 per student. And if you do it throughout the union, it's divided by 2,500, and it's $24 per student. So those are some of the ways that, you know, we see that the unified district would allow us to do some of the program expansion that, you know, some schools right now can't afford. So that's just highlighted on page 2. We can take questions anytime. So
Yeah.
the rest of this section is, again, just information about the district. On page 4, there's not really much new on that section. One of the things in terms of towards the top, examples of potential cost savings, I think the third bullet is important. Increased student-to-teacher ratios, flexible staffing. You know, one of the things, again, in this handout on page 2, number 11, increased regular ed student-teacher ratio. Currently, we have some classes between 12 and 14 students. If you bring that ratio up to 16 to 18, which is, you know, more reasonable, you know, when we do a calculation of all the staff in each school, you know, we would essentially save some money. It's almost like when we changed special ed from a staff ratio of 1 teacher for 7.5 students to 1 teacher to 12 students. Again, a very viable rate for a teacher to have 12 students.
But how are you gonna do this, Ron? You're
Just
gonna
like-
have to move students all over the place.
Ruth, just like we, and I was just gonna finish this, just like we did in special ed, we saved $300,000, and we did move staff. We have behavior interventionists that certain schools couldn't afford, so we'll have those people split between, let's say, Academy School and Guilford School and Vernon School. So they're providing those services that those individual districts were not able to afford. So it is shifting staff. And in some cases, it's looking at classes that have, in one school, 2 classes with 12 students at grade levels. You know, so let's say a 4th grade class. There's 1 teacher with 12 students, there's another teacher in the same school with 12 students. And saying, you know, you gotta maximize the efficiency in terms of the number of kids. 24 might be too big, but, you know, some school districts have elementary choice where it doesn't cost anybody to send another student to a different school if they're close to that school. Many districts do that. So just maximizing the utilization of staff. And we're not doing that well with individual school districts. So I think special ed is a good example of that.
So whether the merger goes through or not, do you think all schools should move to a 16 to 18 to 1 ratio? I mean,
They should.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of the merger, there's certain schools and classrooms that it's, the comments that were made by the staff person earlier, we had career center classes with 4 kids in them. We can't do that. We can't maintain that. So the rest of this section, probably page 5 is the next most recent change. At the top of the page where it talks about, we start with the Article 1, necessary and advisable forming school districts on the bottom of 4, and then we bring it over to the top of 5. In the event a majority of town school districts vote to approve the merger, but 1 or 2 districts vote no, a modified unified union school district will be formed pursuant to Act 156 of 2012. In this case, the MUD would be named whatever it's named. So there's questions about, do we want to go to an accelerated vote this June when we know there might be at least 1 district that's not interested in joining this because of the school choice issue in Vernon. So this option gives at least 1 district, if not 2, a choice to either not be part of the process, or if the town votes that they're against it, you'd still be able to move forward. So this next section, the language which would be considered, this really has to do with Vernon. Early on, probably August through, to about February, we were getting indications that Vernon could maintain their school choice for high school, middle school, and high school students. But then probably early February, representatives of the Agency of Ed and confirmed with the State Board of Education that essentially said, well, if Vernon merges, then their district ends, and that agreement was part of their separate Vernon Elementary School District. So with that in mind, we realized that Vernon may choose not to enter into a merger and decide that they'd like to do an independent school district. And the State Board would rule on that. But we wanted to make sure that there was language in here that would allow for it, and also it would allow for, if Vernon wanted to participate, it's essentially would grandfather their school choice for 10 years. So there's going to be a lot of discussion on this section right here on page 5.
Ron,
Yeah.
on the Article 3, the collective bargaining agreement.
Yep.
Do you foresee any problems like negotiating an agreement when you're going to have to, if you can tell an art teacher to go from Dams to Guilford for a week, or moving things around like that?
Not really, because again, with special ed, we've been doing that. We have like ESL, English Second Language teachers, and PT and OT, other staff that we've been able to do that with. So I don't think it's not that uncommon. We currently have, the funding is different, but we currently have, an art teacher that's half-time in Guilford that just took the other half of their position at Green Street. So we do that a lot. They're funded through separate districts, but in this case, it would be funded through the unified district. So I don't see that as an issue.
And I know that, too, that when we had conversations at one of the Act 46 committee meetings, too, the study committee meetings, there was discussion related to this and the fact that if we have these half-time positions or quarter-time positions that are in different places, and we're able to merge them into one full-time position, it's going to be more desirable for people to take those positions. So we're gonna have an opportunity to get even more highly qualified staff to fill some of those positions where somebody maybe wants to come and work in this district but doesn't want to work in a half-time position. But if it was a full-time position, it was 2 different schools half-time, they would be willing to do that very easily. And if it was in the unified situation too, it would clean up things with getting paid out of from two different school districts and insurance and all that kind of stuff too.
One thing that I think affects BUHS, specifically number 6 on page 6, is Article 6, special funds and debt. Specified funds under section C. The Wyndham Southeast Supervised Union and the school districts that become part of the new unified district will transfer to the unified district any pre-existing school-specific endowment or other restricted accounts that may exist on June 30th, 2017. Scholarship funds or like accounts will be held by school districts that have specified conditions of use will be used in accordance with said provisions. So I think about like the Eames endowment or other scholarship endowments. Those would be specific to the school district that they're currently involved with. So none of that would change. You know, some people worry, well, what happens? All the money gets mixed together? No, there's designated funds that would be maintained.
So you can keep that, but Vernon can't keep it.
Hey, that's not us.
I know.
You talk to,
Ron?
yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Backing up just a little bit to the capital debt, BUHS 6 has, I would assume, the biggest chunk of debt service expense at this point in the supervisory union, still by a fair amount, which is spread out amongst the towns.
Yeah.
And I probably should know the answer to this, based on whether or not they have students at BAMS. Is that not affected by that?
No, it's all the union districts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's spread out that way, so
Dummerston, Putnam.
that won't be a
That won't
major
change.
issue then. That debt is already there
Right.
and spread out, so
Yeah.
now it'll just be lumped in with some other debt.
Yeah.
And the same with operating funds, surpluses and deficits. Are there any really outliers in terms of how much surplus or deficit there is, or?
Not really with the elementary schools.
Yeah.
There had been some districts that were in deficit, but they're not currently, or they haven't been for a while. So, again, I think that has to be managed in terms of, like, capital plans. So what's in effect now for a capital plan here in all the other schools, and just kind of lay it out and say, okay, so let's make sure that these funds are available for these plans. Some of these articles will get more detail from our attorney that's working with us. So I suspect there'll be more detail to some of these, but it doesn't change the intent of what we're trying to do here. The next big one is the idea of potentially closing a school, Article 7. This process would not have we would not have any interest in closing schools. But some of the smaller schools, you know, they might be concerned that, you know, a school of 120 students right now have dropped down, you know, considerably. And so in this plan on bottom of 6, the Unified School District shall not close any schools within its boundaries during the first 5 years of operation. Thereafter, an affirmative supermajority vote of 3/4 of the full membership of the Board of Directors shall be required to approve a school closing. And then it talks about the whole process for public hearings. It's pretty detailed on page 7, the whole process of, you know, information meetings and that sort of thing. I think people feel pretty good about this. I think primarily because if you skip over to page 8, originally there was a board representation with 5 Brattleboro reps and 1 each from the surrounding towns. And our attorney provided us with an alternative, which is an at-large board representation, which gives Brattleboro 2 reps, Dummerston, Guilford, Putney, and Vernon each with 1, and then 2 at-large positions for a total of 8. And I think people, at least the small district folks and Brattleboro reps, feel good about this sort of proportionality in terms of, you know, so if you go back over to the school closing thing, It's not like big bad Brattleboro can impose its will to close schools in the outlying towns. We talk a lot about this board, I talk a lot about this board, how well-functioning it is, with 5 Brattleboro reps and 1 for each outlying town. And since I've worked with this board, and during my 14 years, there's never been any attitude like, well, okay, we're gonna do things that are good for Brattleboro at the expense of the other districts. That just doesn't operate. And I wouldn't see that happening in a unified district this way. But I think the proportionality, I think in a sense, protects smaller schools.
And the even number isn't an issue?
It really isn't. If
Generally has
it's a tie vote, it fails. So.
And I know that, I can say too, that we, on the study committee, looked long and hard at different ways to do the governance breakdown and I think all the Brattleboro reps were right there with the reps from all the other towns too, about finding a way to do it proportionally so we're not violating any law, but at the same time too, giving equal representation to everybody so that there wasn't this feeling that Brattleboro was imposing their will onto everybody else. And this seems to be the way to do that the best. Yeah.
At the meeting in Vernon, I was a little confused on how we voted for these. I thought, I might have misunderstood, but I
Oh,
thought,
for the reps?
yeah,
Yeah.
were they gonna be, I thought like Vernon's reps would be voted district-wide?
I think it's at large, that everybody in the whole unified district towns votes for all of these positions. So a Vernon person on the ballot has to be from Vernon, but everybody gets to vote.
But nobody knows them outside of Vernon,
Yeah.
or her, whatever the case may be.
That's how it was explained to me.
That's what I thought.
I want more clarification because I thought it was just the at-large positions, but then somebody said, oh no, the attorney said all of them, and I just had to clarify. that.
Well, the way it was explained at the last meeting was that that was how we get away with not having the proportionality, because all these seats are elected by everybody.
Yeah,
So yes, Brattleboro, Putney, Dummerston, they would all be voting for the Vernon rep.
And in theory,
This makes sense.
I know, it seems a little weird. And in theory too, the one, like for Vernon, for instance, the one rep has to be from Vernon, and the 2 at-large reps could actually end up being from Vernon. There could be 3 reps from Vernon on the board. Or the 2 at-large people could be from Brattleboro, plus the 2 Brattleboro reps, so half the board membership could be Brattleboro
But
representatives.
Brattleboro's gonna have more votes than
Yeah,
anybody
yeah.
regarding picking them.
Picking who, yeah. But
the next section, I think that's important, is on page 9, local advocacy through school-based leadership councils. A lot of people are concerned that, the boards will disappear, and this is an attempt to make sure that each school has, like a school-based council advocating for their school. It's almost like the BAMS committee, the WRCC, those types of committees. Each school would have a committee like this made up of, it has it in here somewhere. Probably at the bottom of this. Yeah, so the leadership members will include 1 staff member appointed by the board chair, 3 community members elected at town meeting, school principal, 1 student selected by the school principal. I think I already said the unified board member would be chairing that committee.
yeah. And I think too, I've learned during this process that especially in a lot of the elementary schools, the school board, as much as we have committees that we do a lot of work in committees and bring it back to the bigger board, a lot of the elementary schools, their board does a lot of work in connection with some parent groups, the principal, and other things similar to those committees. And a lot of those things would fall to these leadership councils. And it really gives an opportunity for people in the community to stay connected with their school, which I know for some of the smaller schools was really a concern of the communities.
I'm going to try to run through this pretty quickly. On page 10, school boundaries and school and community use of school property. We use the Brattleboro Union High School number 6 policy. I think it's a good policy that, many school districts have this in place, so we just use this as an example of a policy that works pretty well right now. Some of these other things on page 11 and 12, just different language for some of the things that have to be worked out. The middle of page 11, towards the bottom actually, draft procedure for implementation of school transfer program, Wyndham Southeast School District Elementary Choice Program. Again, this is what I was saying, some districts already do this where, you know, you can have up to 5% of the school population transfer to a neighboring school. So a place like Putney and Dummerston, where there's students on the border of the towns, if it makes more sense for the student to go from Dummerston to Putney, you know, it's an easy thing. There's no money that's transferred, that's just kind of the acceptable policy. It's much like the high school choice right now throughout the state, where we typically will have 20 applicants for BUHS from some of the surrounding high schools. We don't get too many of our students choosing to go out to those high schools. We put a cap on that to 10 ninth graders per year. So at any given time, you may have 40 students that are coming in, and it's kind of a statewide program. This would be specific to a district. And, you know, so again, that question about utilization of staff and student numbers and things like that, some districts have found that this has kind of worked really well. It works well for the parents and the students, and it kind of balances off some of the inequities that happen. So that's that whole thing there on page 12. And then these are just some of the financial pages that we had right from the very beginning, so I'm not going to spend any time on that. And then the last part of this, we attached the last minutes when Rebecca Holcomb, the Secretary of Education, came and spoke to the study committee in March 17th. And the bullet points on those minutes, I think, are the bottom of the first page and the second page, the last page, I think are pretty instructive. I thought she was excellent in terms of talking about some of the things that are going on statewide and some of the issues that we face. So again, I'm not going to spend any time reviewing that, but that's for your review and consideration.
Thank you, Ron, for all that. And again, we're meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock in Guilford. So, and everyone's welcome, the community is welcome to come to that, so.
Yeah, I should say too, on our website, there's an Act 46 study committee link, and it's got all the meeting schedules, it's got all of the documents that we've been generating, including these documents. So it's a good, it was just updated, so there's probably like 10 or 12 documents on that site. So if you're interested, you can plug away at that.
Could you just give us a general timeline as you see it laying out?
Yeah.
Because the accelerated is still on the table, right?
Yes, yes. And I think the idea is that get input from all the boards by the April 13th meeting and make a determination around April 13th whether to progress with the accelerated or the modified union district, with the idea of getting this draft with edits to the state board around that time for, I think they've got a meeting May 17th scheduled at the state board to review these types of plans with, you know, if everything goes well up to that point, with the expected vote by all the towns on end of June, something like that. So I'd say within the next 2 weeks, week and a half, there's going to be a lot of discussion on these and revisions and where we stand.
I have a detailed timeline right here.
Oh, good.
You'd like to see it.
Great.
I would also like to just note that this is still a work in progress. There's language and specifics in this that are still being actively debated and discussed in the study committees.
Yep.
This is still subject to potential change.
Yep. Yep.
Great. All right, is there anything else to come before consent agenda this evening? All those in favor of accepting consent agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right, so moving to administrative reports. You start at the
I'm
far...
done.
Okay. You're done. So we'll start at the far end of the table with Mr. Lyman.
All right. Hi, everyone. Just a few announcements of coming events and previous events just happened. Last week we had an open house for our exploratory program and had some beams programs set up on display as well. And that's an annual event that those teachers organized, exploratory teachers meaning phys ed, health, all of those classes. And it was for parents of current students, but also we invited the 6th grade families. And I would say at least half of the people who attended were incoming 6th grade families. And the teachers really worked hard on it. It was well attended and just a nice event to recognize all the work that goes on in the art classes and all of those things. This Wednesday we have a 7th grade orientation. So a lot of the stuff we're doing now is transition stuff. Incoming 7th graders and 8th graders going on to high school. So the incoming 7th grade families have all been invited to orientation Wednesday night here at 7 to we're going to talk more about what we offer at BAMS. And then we've also begun local trips to the elementary schools. Today we went up to Guilford, met with the 6th grade students and just chatted with them about some of the things they're going to expect and or they should expect, and answer questions that they had. They're pretty nervous and excited at the same time, 6th graders. Spring sports were supposed to ironically begin today and we were postponed due to weather. For middle school baseball, softball, and track and field. Yeah. So those are the major events going on. We had nice in-service training last week and did a lot more training with personalized learning plans, PLPs, and then we had about an hour-and-a-half session with the students where they continued to work on developing their PLPs with their teachers. So pretty happy with the progress being made there. And last but not least, and big loss for us, I'd like to ask the board to accept a resignation I've received. This letter is from our music band teacher, Tom Nishaka, instrumental music teacher. And Tom is relocating somewhere, relocating his family, probably Midwest, West Coast area, but out of this area. And so it's a large loss for us. He's, if you've paid any attention to the music program, he's an incredible teacher. And I know the entire school will be sad to lose him and the students. So he's been here for 8 years and he's very appreciative of his time and the opportunities he's been given here. And but he'd like to ask for the board to accept his resignation.
And I'm just passing the letter around so people can see.
Yep, sure.
What date was the orientation? Is it this one?
This Wednesday at 7.
Okay.
Yep.
I move we accept the resignation of Tom Nishaka with regret.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that just to add to what Keith said, that what he did for the music program at BAMS was really remarkable, and the program just grew leaps and bounds, and it produced a lot of really fine musicians and kids that just were really enthusiastic and loved music wherever they're ending up. So it is a really big loss. Sorry to see.
Yeah. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of accepting his resignation with regret, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. All right, let's move up to the high school.
Sure. So we had a very special event last Thursday, 31st. The BUHS chorus performed with the Wyndham Orchestra at the Latches Theater at the annual concert. And they were, the audience was about 800 local elementary students. And as part of that, the elementary course and the high school and middle school courses all joined in on parts of Carmina Burana, as well as a rendition of the Vermont State song. Those links to those two pieces are currently on our website, and if you get a chance, it's great to watch. And so if you want to get a chance to check out, especially the Vermont State song, it's great to hear our students singing that, and hearing the elementary students singing it with gusto. On April 8th at Bellows Falls Union High School, and April 9th at BUHS, they'll do the complete Carmina Burana, joined by choruses from Bellows Falls, Layla and Gray, and Twin Valley, as well as the Blanchmore East Chorale. That should be a great show. If the preview that I saw is any indication, those will be phenomenal shows to see, so if you get a chance to see those. Also in art, Allison Cram, who teaches TV production, ceramics, and foundations, was honored by VitalLearn, which is a consortium of technology educators throughout the state. And she was given what's called a Project Ignite Award. It's a statewide award for her work in technology and for her work in revitalizing BUHS TV, creating connections with BC TV, and also her work doing video work with all of our staff and posting that and getting our BUHS YouTube station up and running. So we're very proud of Allison. She works extremely hard, and it's great to see her get honored for that. Our foods classes, and this is just kind of a gee whiz thing. Our foods classes, every year they make teddy bear tea cookies for the kindergarten registration. And this is the first time that some of the students who are actually making the cookies were the recipient of the cookies when they were in kindergarten. And we thought that was kind of an important thing to note. So it's kind of neat to see the cycle come around. Yeah. In math news, we'll be doing interviews for math department head next week. I'm going to ask Ricky to work with us to find a board member who would like to serve on that committee. It's probably going to be about a half day on Tuesday afternoon. It would be great to have somebody jump in and represent the board on that. Our athletic department is doing something new this year, this spring, and it's called Project Unified. And we received a $1,000 grant from the Special Olympics in Vermont. And we're actually running a unified basketball team, and that pairs one of our Special Olympic athletes with another BUHS student, and they actually work together and they play other schools. It's a great program, has had great success in other New England states. Chris Sawyer has done a lot of work to get this up and running, and so kudos to him for that. And we've just started our season. We had one game canceled, but we're hoping to get another game in very soon. Last week, Dan Braden, who runs our STEM Academy, brought a group of students to Keene State, and they toured the Design Center and had a great visit with Keene State, met with faculty, met with students there. And some next year when they go back, I should let the board know up front so you can send a representative along on that trip, because what they do at Keene State with the Design Center is phenomenal work. And also I have to applaud the work that Dan Braden's done all year. He has done an incredible job of taking the STEM Academy on. He's brought in guest speakers, he's organized field trips to various areas, and under his care, the STEM Academy is growing rapidly, so kudos to Dan for that. And last but not least, on Monday, we will have one of our semi-annual opera trips. I'm not sure which show we're going to see, but the students will leave here early in the morning. They will go see a dress rehearsal of an opera. They'll talk to the cast members. They'll talk to some of the people that work on the opera, spend the day in New York City, and then come back. And so that's always a great event for many of our students who otherwise, A, wouldn't go to the opera, B, in some cases wouldn't get a chance to visit New York City, so it's a nice trip for that. So thank you.
Awesome. And so the Career Center.
Thanks. So I'll start with the longest report, I think, and that is to do with our local FBLA chapter, Future Business Leaders of America. Just recently attended the Vermont State Championship and States in Lake Maury this year. It's usually held in Burlington, and they moved it to a more central location, which is great for us, so we don't have to travel so far. And this year, 14 students participated, and I'd like to read you their names. Matthew Domain, Sarah Gothier, Ethan Waterman, Garrett Winchester, Greg Wood, Sarah Ferret, Megan Ferret, Isabel Renaud, Emily Whitworth, Victoria Packard, Rachel Parker, Maya Patterson, Frida Rosner, Jacob Chuki, I worded his name. And these 14 students all placed within their competitions that they participated in. And a lot of them were first place, and second place, third place. A lot of them received scholarships from Vermont Technical College and Johnson & Wales. And a total of $16,500 in scholarships were awarded and $400 in cash prizes. And most importantly, the chapter awards that they brought home were the best of the state. So they placed first out of the state. In the last 3 years, they fought hard, and the work has really paid off for them. They also placed first in the scrapbook award and the best cheer. So kudos to those 14 students and their advisors, Mary Beth Parnell and Barb Vinci, for doing a job well done. And those individuals that placed first place will have a chance to go to the national competition this summer after school's out, and they raise their own funds to travel. It's about $2,200 per student. So they are very busy, and congratulations to all those students. It's a great experience. And the Reformer wrote a very nice article this weekend, and I made you a copy if you'd like to take a look at it. The last two items is one we heard from Dennis Hamilton earlier, and he will be retiring this year after 36 years with the district. Dennis will be surely missed among students, staff, and community members. He's inspired generations and generations of students and families in this community, and he truly cares about the whole educating the whole child, and that shows with his passion every day in the classroom. He'll be missed by many, and I wish him the best of luck on his retirement. So if I could have the board's approval of his retirement.
I move we accept Dennis Hamilton's resignation with regret.
I second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Oh, actually,
Oh, sorry.
maybe in the discussion of his retirement isn't the right place, or maybe it is. Are we going to actually discuss the issues that he was presenting?
Well, I think that's something that I don't know if we should be discussing now or not,
I
but
think that's a staffing decision.
yeah, that's something that the administration, I think they heard it as well as we did.
We actually met with Dennis prior to his decision on retirement, and went over those points, and we talked to him about the plans. And so I think it's really based on Michael's work with the number of students and the section numbers and that sort of thing.
I mean, I've sensed a strong support for the career center, so I was a little surprised. I mean, but I mean, you know, there are the adjustments that have to be made, but.
I guess that's kind of my feeling too. Not that I was surprised because I think we do that.
Yeah, I know.
Well, so to hear that a staff member expressing that he doesn't feel that we are teaching these vocational skills was a little disturbing.
From my perspective, this is a model program in terms of the programming that we have for students and the opportunities for students, and we're committed to maintaining that. But there are some sections and programs that we needed to cut back on. And, it's not going to jeopardize the programs. We'll make sure of that.
Okay, everybody good? All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? All right, great.
I have one more, actually a letter of resignation. Our horticulture teacher, Sam Rowley, has accepted a new position in northern part of Vermont. And Sam has been with us for 5 years, and he's added a lot to the horticulture natural resources program and to WRCC. He's infused a lot of technology within this content area and brought it to the 21st century. So it's great to see, and he'll be missed by all of us as well, and especially the students. So I'd like to present that to the board.
Okay.
I move we accept the resignation of Sam Rowley, the horticulture teacher, with regret.
Second by Russ. Any discussion?
You go to northern Vermont?
Stillwell area.
North of here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor? See how much they have?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Okay. Excellent.
That's all.
All right. And Ron, you didn't have anything else you said?
No, I spent a lot of time with issues.
I have a question about resignations, I'm not quite sure. Now, we have to, are they in a 2-year contract or 1-year contract?
1 year.
So they could just leave anyway?
Yeah. Kind of a formality. It's a chance for the board to acknowledge the person.
And I don't have anything else, so done with administrative reports. Is there any unfinished business? Nothing listed, but anything that we didn't discuss? Okay. So new business, and I believe Steve has something for us under new business.
I do. Karen Sebastian and Suzanne Grenoble wanted to be here tonight, but they weren't sure what the weather was going to do, so they asked me to do this presentation, so pretend I'm them. So in the first...
In the native language.
We.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I got. So first,
Wunderbar.
I'm asking for a extension of insurance rider to cover the trip to Germany next fall. They are traveling, 10 students and 2 trip leaders who will be traveling from November 10th to November 22nd. They will leave on the 10th, which is a half day, and they will, and then the 22nd, and 21st and 22nd are during our break in November. Parents have been apprised of this meeting. Students will miss 5 school days, and we will may need subs for 2, sub pay for 2 subs. The request is that we extend that rider for their time in Germany. They're flying in and out of Leipzig, and Karen Sebastian and Kathleen Sicosio are the trip leaders.
So does that include Switzerland too?
That's the next one.
That's the next slide.
That's only a 5-to-1 staff to student ratio.
Sounds like Mr. Lyman just volunteered to go.
All right. So, is there a motion?
I move that we extend the insurance rider for the trip to Germany next fall and the sub for 2 days.
All right.
2 subs for 5 days.
Or 2 subs for 5 days. Well, it's a good thing you said that because I had it all mixed up.
All right. Is there a second? Seconded by Mike. All right. Any discussion?
I think you have to approve it in German.
Tom.
There we go.
All,
A little bit.
all those in favor?
Ah,
Opposed or abstentions? Okay.
who seconded that?
I did it.
Mike did. Okay. And
Wunderbar. Moving on to Switzerland. These dates are tentative still. It looks like the Swiss Exchange will be traveling from April 21st to the 29th. We're partnering with our school our partner school in Geneva. We've been with them for several years now. 13 students and 2 trip leaders. Students will miss 5 school days. Suzanne Grenoble and Alice Sharks, who works at Green Street, are the trip leaders in this case. And right now, because the Swiss can't host our group until the 24th, they will fly into Paris and spend a few days in Paris, and then they will travel on to Geneva, Switzerland. So I would ask that the board approve the insurance rider to cover that trip, and also approve the substitute.
Is that during spring, April break? Or how many days?
That's not, part of it would be during spring break. 1 week would be during spring break, and 1 would not be. Part of the challenge, and part of the reason Germany's not going in April is because of the way the holidays are falling. And so they're trying to scramble to figure out how to make this work.
So it would be one substitute for 5 days? Is that right? Because Alice is in.
It would, and I guess that's something that you and I should probably talk about.
To figure it out.
Yeah, so.
So we wouldn't be paying Green Streets?
No, you're
Right.
All right.
Is that this month, April, or a year from this
A
month?
year.
Okay.
Right. 2017, right.
All right, is there a motion?
I
Bob?
move we extend the insurance rider for this Switzerland trip, and we cover with one substitute for 5 days.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ruth. All right, any more discussion about that? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? All right, all set.
Merci beaucoup.
Look at you go. Well done. All right. Is there any other new business for us this evening? Yes.
Are we meeting, when is school vacation, number
Yeah, that's a
one?
good question, 18th.
And
would
is
be your-
that our board week?
It would be our board week.
Yeah. I know Stephen and I are away,
Typically, we
You
don't
missed-
meet
Yeah, we
that
missed that one.
Monday.
so should we forego that meeting?
Unless there's anything major that needs to be dealt with, I think we could do that.
Okay.
So
So
then,
the next meeting will be,
May 2nd.
okay.
May 2nd. All right, anything else new for the board this evening?
I move we adjourn.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? All right.